Hey everybody, welcome to PC Perspective. Today we're going to take a look at a new case from Corsair, this time of the Mini ITX variety. It's the company's first Mini ITX case. This is the Obsidian series 250D, and it has a lot of unique features. It still supports water cooling, a couple of radiators maybe in some different positions. It's got a lot of airflow, but it is also a little bit bigger than your normal Mini ITX case. So let's go ahead and take a look at the features, installation, and then we'll talk about pricing and what we really think about the 250D. Clearly, when you look at the styling of the 250D, it shares a lot of the look of the more recent Obsidian series cases from Corsair. Just looking at the front panel, the kind of brushed finish that we have. If we start looking at kind of the features that it offers, you can see here it does have a full 5¼ inch drive bay. You've got your power button, reset button, you've got USB ports and audio inputs and outputs there. The front panel does remove, pretty simple click motion there, and you've got a really rather large fan filter here that is removable, and it reveals spacing for a 120, a 140, or a 200 millimeter fan. It actually comes with 140 installed, but as we'll show you here, we replaced it as we put a self-contained water cooler in this setup. So, you know, in terms of a lot of airflow into the system, you know, if you want to bump up to the 200 millimeter, you've got more than enough capability there. And it's easy to access with the front panel door and the fan filter there. If we rotate along to the side, you'll see we actually have two doors on either side, so it's really is kind of built just like a normal size case, with just shrunk down. We've got another fan filter here that is magnetic and removable. This side actually has the graphics card. You can kind of see the fans inside there of the Asus 290X DirectCU2. This is great because there's no airflow issues of getting air into the graphics card at that point. We did some coin mining on this machine, running that GPU full speed for a long time. No thermal issues, no noise issues, anything like that. That's a big plus for sure. Rotating to the back, you get an idea of how the layout is inside the case. You've got a full-size ATX power supply down here. You can see we're actually using a slightly overkill 1050 watt unit. Your Mini ITX motherboard is here. Here are your connectors. You've got 2 slots for a graphics card. It does support full-size, full-length graphics cards. And down here, you actually have your drive bays, 2.5 inch and 3.5 inch drive bays. They are your standard kind of sled design, toolless installation. They work pretty well. I think this is the first time I've actually seen the toolless 2.5 inch drive bays that pretty much just look like the 3.5 inch drive bays, but a little bit smaller. So you can get 2 3.5 and 2 2.5 inch hard drives in here. That's quite a bit of storage capability for Mini ITX design. And on this side, you have another fan filter here, intake filter. It does come with one 140 millimeter, maybe it's 120, I can't remember exactly, fan pre-installed. It has room for 2. And also this is the area which you would use to, if you want to install a 240 millimeter radiator inside, you could do that as well. And I'll show you that on the inside. Up top, as I spin this around and not scratch anything, you'll see that there's a window here. And it's actually kind of nice. You can, you know, you get to see the lights of your water cooler if you've got LED lights on your memory or anything like that. If you install any LED lights, it will shine through the top there, and it actually is pretty neat. And of course, that top does come off as well with just a couple of thumb screws. Slides off quite nicely. You can see the window there. Now I'm going to go ahead and take off the side panel doors as well, and we'll give you a look at what installation is like. And that this case, of all the Mini ITX cases we have used recently, this one has kind of the most room for excess cables, large components, and in reality, you can use desktop components for almost everything here. And just to point out that the fan filters here are indeed magnetic, so you can clean them pretty easily. So here you can see, I guess we'll consider this the top of the case if it was a normal ATX design. You've got your drive cages down here. The area between the front of the case and the power supply is mostly open, which is great for easy cable management. It's one of the things Corsair is really striving to do, is make it easy to make your case look good. So even though this area might be ugly, with the case all assembled, you never really see it. So that's not really a problem. We swing around to this side, you can see the graphics card. We have an R9 290X installed. We've got a little bit more space here, although not a whole bunch if we wanted to have a longer GPU there. You got to be careful on the height. You can see we've got a heat pipe here, but it definitely fits underneath there. We've got our power supply connectors. And then if we flip this down, you can kind of see our test system installation there. You've got our H80i in here installed. We've got our memory modules. You've got pretty much everything you need to have a really, really high performance system. You can see here, might be a little bit hard because of the light, the radiator that we installed is actually a double thickness radiator. And because of that, we couldn't install it along the back here. If you look a little bit there, you can see that there's some space between the motherboard and the kind of back wall here where this fan is installed. So if you want to install that 240 millimeter radiator, you've got to use like the H100 that is thinner. It's a single width radiator, and it will go all the way across with the fans installed. With this, you couldn't do that, so Corsair recommends that what you do instead is remove the front panel fan and install your radiator there. I would say, you know, if we go back and look, the installation of this was pretty easy. Maybe the most difficult part was getting the SATA power and data connections run to this. You know, if you're trying to keep the system nice and neat, it can be a little bit of a hassle. You can see our cable routing isn't the best up and top as well, but I think most of that can be solved with using as few power supply cables as you can. Getting a modular power supply is always a benefit for Mini ITX designs. I think maybe having Corsair offer up a kind of short, slim cable set for their power supplies for Mini ITX designs going forward would be a big, you know, boost, a nice bonus to offer that for these Mini ITX designs, so you don't have the cable clutter. Otherwise, you know, installation with all Mini ITX cases really just depends on the order you do it in. So make sure you follow the directions and you follow the recommendations that Corsair makes with their case. So there's really, there's no hardware kind of sacrifices you have to make with this, right? It doesn't support SLI or Crossfire. You have to use Mini ITX motherboard, obviously. But other than that, you're using full-size graphics cards, full-size power supply, full-size hard drives, and SSDs. You can use self-contained water cooling, and that obviously all comes at the expense of size. It is a larger than standard case. One thing I will note, we do not have it installed, but it does come with, this is where the optical drive would be installed, and it would normally be installed right here on top of the case, but we actually removed it just because of our self-contained water cooling kind of getting in the way of that. So if you have a radiator along this side, you don't have to worry about that. You will still be able to use your full-length optical drive bay as well. For the company's first Mini ITX design, the Obsidian Series 250D is actually quite good. It has a lot of room for you to work on. You get full-size power supply support, full-size graphics card support. There's a lot of airflow. There's a lot to like about it. One thing that we didn't really like is that it is bigger than what we're used to seeing Mini ITX cases. In our work with it, the thought came across already more than once. It's like, well, if you're kind of already in a system this big, why not go all the way, get a micro ATX design like the 350D? It's not that much bigger, you have a little bit more room, and you don't have some of the minor annoyances of Mini ITX designs. Still, even with that being said, I like the design, I like the look, I like the style. If you're looking for a high performance, capable Mini ITX design that isn't very expensive, this is a great option. You can pick it up for about $90, I think, at the end of this month on Newegg and Amazon.com and all those general areas. So I expect this to be a pretty popular design. All that being said, especially considering the price, and that's the Corsair Obsidian Series 250D.